and became part of their family. But I also learned that they had planned to marry me to their son.
Lindsay Brewster eats sauce!
So there's like thousands of story animation channels, and they all claim to be true stories animated. But 90% of the time, they're all fake, like literally 90% of the time. There's a couple of them that are real, but most of the time they're not. Usually it's like, I got $2 million from fixing blinds. It's just impossible scenarios. And today we're going to be looking at a certain animation channel called Share My Story. It's just the same as other ones. They animate people's true stories, air quotes. And they're just so badly fake, so let's just start.
I was 12 years old and brought up in a small village inside Siberia. My parents were very poor and told my sister and I that they didn't have enough food for both of us to make it through the winter. I didn't quite understand what they meant.
What do you mean? The dad said, "Oh, we don't have enough food for winter," and you didn't understand what he meant? He was like to you, he was like, "Oh no, we don't have enough food for the winter," and then you're like, "I wonder what that means." Like, he's clear and straightforward. It means you don't have enough food.
But the next day, my dad told me to follow him into the forest. We walked for 2 days, deeper and deeper through the endless Siberian wilderness. I lay down, and exhausted from our long walk, I quickly fell asleep. When I woke up again, my dad was gone, and the night was at its darkest. I heard wolves howl not far away and climbed up the tree I had slept under to be safe from the creatures on the ground.
How can you climb trees that easily? It's very hard to climb a tree, especially if there's no branches. And also, you're telling me that wolf just didn't see you, and even if the wolf did see you, the wolf just walked past and won't like try to get you up there in the tree? That doesn't make much sense.
I waited for 1 whole week, hoping my dad would come back and take me home. But he didn't, and each day winter came closer.
You sat in that tree for a week straight? You can only go 3 days without water, right? You would be dead, like, certain. Especially because you were starving, too. Starvation is also another thing.
I decided to just start walking, even though all directions looked the same. After a week my feet hurt so much, I took a 2-day rest near a river.
So you rested at a river for 2 days straight and drank river water? Like, unpurified? That would kill you. So how is this person not dead yet? She should definitely be dead from drinking unpurified lake water.
But then I heard a noise from something coming towards me. Was it my dad? Or was it some animal? It was sniffing and had caught my smell, because it was walking right towards me. I stood up and ran to the closest tree and climbed it.
How are you able to climb trees so well? Look at her climb up that tree. It is a thin tree with no branches. How are you climbing up? How?
I thought I was safe because I didn't know bears could climb trees, but they can, and much better than humans. My only advantage was me being lighter than him. So I went to the highest and thinnest branch I could reach, but the bear was very hungry and followed me right to the top. It was...
How did the tree not break from you being on it? Yeah, you could be really light, but if you went to a really thin branch, it would definitely break. Branches can't really hold that much weight. Alright, basically what happens here is she just like jumps to another tree and then the bear falls down and like dies or whatever. I don't know, I just didn't want to drag it out for longer than it needs to be, so I'm just gonna tell you what happened right here.
That was my chance. I went to the ground, took the biggest stone I could pick up, and went to the bear. I saw the fear in its eyes. The small girl had won against the beast. Smash. Afterward, I found a sharp stone, and for 3 days, I skinned the bear. It gave me a nice pelt to keep me warm during the cold nights.
What? You're telling me even if the bear was like very hurt and couldn't get up, it didn't bite back at all? And you somehow knew how to skin a bear? What 12-year-old knows how to skin a bear? And this isn't even in the olden days either. It's in like the new times, current times. And so first she somehow skinned a bear all by herself perfectly and made a coat out of it. How does a 12-year-old know how to do that? Just how?
Then I continued to walk for weeks and weeks, not seeing a single other human being. By now it was November, and snow was laying everywhere. The only thing that kept my feet from freezing were the shoes I'd made from the bear's pelt.
Yeah, but what about those pants you got over there? Yeah, that's short pants. Wouldn't your legs freeze? Again, this story is not adding up at all.
As I continued walking, the landscape changed from endless forests to endless grasslands. I had no more bear meat, and I was close to starvation. But then I saw a weird-looking tent. I went to its door and said, "Hello," in Russian. An old woman came out. She looked different and said something in her own language. Then she brought me inside and fed me bread and cheese. This is where my life with the Mongolian nomads began. Within a few months, I learned to speak their language and became part of their family.
So they just let a random person they didn't know into their house to eat a bunch of food and live with them, and she somehow learned the language even though no one was there to teach her? Like, if they all speak a different language, then somebody would have to be there to teach her, but nobody was because they all spoke the same language.
They treated me well, but I also learned that they had planned to marry me to their son. But I didn't like their son. He was a mean bully who enjoyed stealing the eggs of birds and throwing them against stones.
Okay, first off, you skinned a bear and you, murdered a bear, okay? You're not any better. You just said that you were a part of their family, but they want you to marry their son? That's just kind of weird, isn't it?
I knew the only way to escape my planned marriage was to run away. Luckily, I'd found a map at the shop of a nearby village. It was a map of all of Asia, and there, I learned that I had walked more than 1,200 miles from my Siberian village to the Mongolian nomads. I bought the map from the shop, and while it was night, I snuck out of my tent. I took one cheese wheel with me and stole one horse to bring me back home.
Because you didn't want to get married, you decided to just run away for the people who were keeping you alive? That's a bit irrational.
But after 3 days of riding the horse, we reached the endless Siberian wilderness, and it struggled to walk through the dense forest. That's why I let it go, and continued to wander on my own. Now all I had was my map, my cheese, and a spear I had made to defend myself in case another bear attacked me. Tears came to my eyes when I saw my parents' small wooden hut. I was nervous seeing them again, because I didn't know if my parents wanted me back. I opened the door anyway, and I saw both my parents sitting on 2 wooden chairs. "It's me, Anna, your daughter." My mother jumped up and said, "Anna?" I ran up to her and gave her a long hug. I said, "I missed you so much." But then I turned to my dad, the man that had abandoned me in the wild. I saw he had tears in his eyes, and then he said, "I'm so sorry for what I've done." I had never seen my father cry, and I knew that he really was sorry.
If the dad was really sorry, why did he leave you? That doesn't make any sense. And the dad said he was sorry, but he never explained, he never explains why he decided to leave her in the first place. No reason. It kind of just seems like you just left your kid out in the wilderness because you hated them.
The next few days, my dad kept apologizing for what he had done to me, but I forgave him because I knew he didn't have another choice. Had I stayed with them, I would have ended up like my sister. I lived with my parents for 3 more years until I turned 17.
Okay, so that means that she was 12 when she went into the wilderness, and then she spent 2 years living with them to come back home. How'd you spend 2 years? How did that much time go on? And she doesn't even look any different.
But because we barely had money or food, we decided I should move to Moscow. For a few weeks, I worked as a waitress, but soon I found a better job working as a model.
Oh my god, there are just so much things wrong with that. First off, you could have moved to Moscow the entire time. Then why did your parents decide to keep living in that terrible, bad house that was, made of bricks and wood and was falling apart? Secondly, you just went there nothing. You just went. I don't think it's that easy. And you just became a waitress with no degree or anything, because sometimes you need a high school degree to work places, and she has no education at all. Especially because she turned into a model. I think you need something, at least a high school education or a high school diploma, And also, How did she become a model that easy? That's like, oh yeah, I just lived in Russia. I just went to New York and just became like the richest person on the earth. Like, I just did it. Like, come on. It's really not that simple, and that's why these things are so badly fake. But that's where it ends. She just becomes a model and is rich now and stuff. I don't know. So as you can see, these storytime channels are just really bad and just so fake. But that's all I have for you for this video. Hopefully I get to see you guys in the next video. Bye!